thank you, Robert Vigna of Immolation, for joining us today to discuss basically to discuss your new album and plans for 2023. Sorry, 2022. Excuse me. So,
Good to be here.
yep. Obviously, you
Thanks
finished.
for having me.
No problem. No problem. You finished the Atonement tour cycle at the end of 2019. In November was kind of like the last time you were in Europe for it. You'd obviously spent kind of a couple of years on the road with that album. Kind of when you obviously finished that tour cycle, how long did it take you to get back into the obviously into the realms of wanting to write a new record? Were the things already kind of underway, or was it a case of we finished and a fresh start to start writing?
Yeah, well, typically it's always, we always do the fresh start thing, so I never really have music left over, or, I mean, songs or anything like that. It's very rare I even have any parts of music to go into the next record, but, so typically, yeah, I just start from scratch. But yeah, the Atonement record, as you know, came out like February 2017. We did touring in that year. We did a little bit of touring in 18, and in 19 we decided we really wanted to hit the scene again one more time, because we felt it was such a strong record, and we just wanted to get out there one more time before we started, getting the new one done.
It was definitely. I mean, I've kind of sensed it over here that Atonement definitely had It got a lot more. It got very, very high reception in the UK. A lot of people were very, very high on that album. Did you kind of find that as you did that tour throughout, the US, mainland Europe, and other places that you went, that you got a real buzz off the crowd based on that album?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, before we ended all the touring, like I was saying, like we did a bunch of touring in 2019 throughout the world, really. We decided to go just hit every area we possibly could, so that was really cool, hitting like Japan for the first time, and Asia, and back to Australia, and South America, and US and Canada, so it was like, and Europe, of course, so it was like, it was great to get all that, under our belts. But yeah, like starting in 2017, the first tour we did was the Cavalera, the Cavalera brothers.
Oh, yeah.
We did the tour with them. And super cool guys, and it was an awesome tour. But we came out of the gate playing, half the set was new songs, and the album, I think, had just come out or was coming out in the middle of that tour, and no one really knew the new songs, so I didn't think the album was out for most of that tour. I think we had it with us, but it wasn't officially out till possibly right after, or whatever the case was. But we were playing new songs, and people were digging the new songs, like, straight off the bat. So yeah, the reception on that record really was good, and I think it was a great record. I think for us it was a great record. Like, we were happy with that record more than any recent ones previously before that. And it was just I think it really was a great bunch of songs. I think all the songs were top notch, and it kind of set the bar a little higher for ourselves. So going into this record, Ross and I were both like, all right, well, we got that one came out pretty good. We got we got to move to the next level now. So it's like, it's harder with every record, So yeah, that being said, the reception on that was really cool, and we were very happy that that people liked it, because with any record, you could like it as much as you want as a band and be happy with it. And in the end, I guess that's the most important part. You have to be happy with what you're doing, but you hope that the fans and the people that are into the music like it as well. So and nobody knows that until the fans hear it.
Yeah.
So you could think it's great, and they could be like, yeah, well, not so much. So that one got a great response, which we were very happy with, and I think people just love the production, they love the music, they loved everything about it, the art, everything. So it just really kind of like everything came together really well with that one. So going into this one, it just we felt like, all right, well, not that we can do anything about it other than our best, like we do every other time, but we just felt that, okay, this has got to be a good one now, So I got started writing that probably like somewhere toward the end of 2018. I wrote about 3 or 4 songs, and then once we started getting together for touring in 2019, I had to obviously take a break. We were on and off the road that whole year pretty much once March or April kicked in. So yeah, that kind of just took a side for the minute. But we did rehearse. When we were rehearsing for some of that touring in 2019, we actually played those songs together in rehearsal, like those 4 songs. So that was pretty cool and extremely different than wherever used to doing. So that was cool. And then once we did all that touring, and in the the beginning of December of 2019, our plan was to use 2020 to just write and get the thing recorded, and hopefully out in early 21 or late 20. But as we know, the pandemic hit, and that put a break on a lot of things. But that being said, we were very fortunate to be in that position, because we really just were right at the end of the cycle for that last record. We were just going to take 2020 to really concentrate on writing and lay low, and that's kind of like when all this hit. So we kind of lucked out in that respect, where we were able to use that time to be creative and get everything done. And the pandemic, although gave us a lot of time, there were still other things you had to deal with because of the pandemic, with family and stuff like that. So that being said, it's like, it gave us a lot of time, but it also, I was still working on, the music, and you just work on it as much as you can, as best you can. And we ended up wanting more songs, because I felt it always needed a little bit of extra something, a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
So I finished writing the last song like the beginning of June of last year, and that was Apostle, which was the first single that we released.
Yeah.
And that's it. And we went to the studio in August, and here we are. So luckily everything kind of we were able to get into the studio and get everything done quickly, which was really good.
That's something, because I was going to ask, because not every album, but historically, if you go back to your early years, you were very set on kind of 8-song records. And this obviously is quite a long one. 15 tracks, a couple of them are instrumental. But do you think that extra time that you had did it basically take the pressure off so you could basically put forward more songs for it that you felt were 100% ready for the record?
Yeah, I think, well, with any record, I think half the reason some of those albums are that long is because we get, we only write for the record. So we'll write songs, and we don't write like 12 songs and put 8 on the record. We'll write. We got up to our 8th song. We're like, all right, that's 40 minutes. That's all right. That's a record. Let's go. Because it always takes us so long to write stuff back then, especially.
Yeah.
Like back then, it was a different kind of process. We've gotten a little bit better at, getting things done or approaching things and how to approach them. And now that I write everything on the computer, it makes things a hell of a lot easier. I can tell you that. So that being said, I think this time, maybe it had something to do with it, but I would think it was more about just trying. Yeah, we did have the extra time, so there was a little less pressure in that sense. But there were things like, I got to a certain point where, okay, I knew I had enough songs for the record, but I was like, it's enough songs, but it's long enough. But however, I still want more of this kind of song on the record. This there was a balance that was missing. You know what I mean? So I was pushing to get a little bit more of that balance. And the last 2 songs I wrote for the record were more aggressive ones, which were like Apostle and When Halos Burn.
Yeah.
Those are the last 2 songs written. And When Halos Burn is another, kind of ripper track. So those were the kind of things I was looking for by the time I got to that point, because, sometimes I write a lot of quick songs up front and maybe, need a little bit more of the, slower songs to balance it out. For me, it's just more of about a balance on a whole. Like if the album is one long song, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was looking for, and that's kind of why, I went that extra mile toward the end there, and, ended up going to like June of last year before everything was finished. But yeah, luckily it worked out, and we were able to get in the studio quick and got everything done quick, the artwork, everything. All these guys really, they were under the gun, and we put them in that position, but they made everything happen, which we were very fortunate,
With regard to the artwork side of things, is because you've always had quite impressive artistic artwork to accompany the album. So is there anyone in particular within the band who takes lead on that, or is it a group collective effort of what you want your final output to be packaged in?
Well, I mean, back in the day, it was more, I guess the full group, or for the most part, it's been me and Ross the whole time. Like especially because the original lineup was what it was, and then obviously the first record we all had those ideas, but we're always on the same page. You know what I mean? I mean, over the years, since probably whatever 3rd record or whatever whatever it is, it's like Ross and I have pretty much been taking the helm on all that stuff, from the music and the lyrics and everything. So it's just like the idea. So basically, like Ross and I, once the music's done, because Ross, we both write stuff lyrically as the music's being written. So I'll be writing stuff, and sometimes stuff will just come to me. I write down. Ross, same thing. He'll listen to the music and he'll start writing stuff down. Right? Throughout the year or so, 2 years, we have these songs in pre-production that we're listening to, we come up with ideas, whether it's a song title or a line or a word or whatever. We just write the stuff down. Once all the music's done, that's when we kind of start hitting the lyrics. Because Ross, like myself, like once all the music's, like I look at it as one long song, so to speak, musically, right? So then Ross also, when he's got ideas or I have ideas for songs, he likes to place those ideas to match up with the songs, and he's kind of good at doing that, like which lyric idea works for which song. And he needs to just hear all the songs to see what works best, So he's good at picking those out, and then together we work on the lyrics. We start getting all our notes and we put them all together, and we throw, like this time was great. We threw them to Dropbox, and even though we weren't in the studio yet, which is usually where we start writing the lyrics, believe it or not, about 2 or 3 weeks out, we started doing it that way. We put our stuff in the Dropbox, and we'd get on the phone and we'd kind of work on stuff, and we had about maybe only 4 songs to work on when we got into the studio, so that was great. We kind of like tightened everything up and got most of it done before we were in there, So yeah, the artwork. Getting back to the artwork, we had the concepts, because once we have the lyrics and you have all the song titles, then you can finally say, okay, what do you want the album cover to look like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the thing. That's the point I was trying to get to, is that we need to have the music, we need to have the lyrics, we need to have the title, so this way we can kind of get an idea of what we want the cover to look like. And in this case, everything was very, the songs have a lot of specific things they're about, but they're very ambiguous, but they all kind of deal with, the way we write things in a dark way, even though they might be about one thing or another. They're kind of written very ambiguous and dark. So because of the references to the dark light, black rays spewing down from the heavens and things like that, and that kind of dark overtone throughout all the lyrics, we just felt that, the idea for the cover that we had was to have these dark rays coming down and, kind of burning these angels, but done in such a way where it was, more of one smaller scene as opposed to a very, most of our covers, are landscapes and big, wide open scenes. This time we wanted to have something a little bit more, compact, I guess you could say, more focused, So that was our idea, and then we wanted to do something a little darker, and Ross had been looking through some artists, and he kept looking at Eleron, and kept bringing him to me, and I'm like, yeah, I really did like his stuff, and Ross and I both loved his style and how he had that dark Renaissance style, but he also had a lot of different styles that he did well. He seems to be a very an artist that can go in and out of different types of styles. So he also dealt with some of that surrealism stuff. So point being made, we decided to go with him, and we gave him our ideas, and usually we'll send the sketch, but I think we were very elaborate in our ideas, and we decided not to go with the sketch, and we sent him our ideas and the music from the pre-production and some of the lyrics and stuff like that, and song titles, and that was it, and then he sent us a sketch back, which basically, I have to say, it looks like the album cover, only like a fuzzier black and white version of it,
Yeah.
And so that's his sketch, and we were like, wow. We were like instantly like, wow, you nailed it. We were like, take that and go for it, So yeah, and he kind of like suggested, and instead of having the angels burning, I just, it might be cool if they're more like melting. We're like, oh, perfect. We're like, that sounds even better, So he really did an amazing job on the artwork, and we're so happy with it, because it's a very bleak, hopeless look, which is just great. There's just that hopeless. They're all trying to help each other, but they're all just, it ain't happening, and it's such a hopeless looking image, and I love the way our drummer described it. He's like, it's oppressively dark. It's like absolutely, and so yeah, he really nailed it, and we're super happy with it. We couldn't be happier. And it's really fits the tone of the music, and then for the inner pieces, which I can't ignore, we had Santiago from Triple Six Designs. We had been working with them on some T-shirt designs and tour poster designs that we did for the tours in 2019, and we decided to use him for the inner pieces. So we gave him a description of stuff that we wanted to happen in there, and he also kind of threw his own stuff in there, and yeah, again, really cool stuff, and they both blended so well together, and the way the packaging came out, Rob at the label did an amazing job, putting the packaging together, and how he kind of put all that stuff together. It just really worked out nice. I think the fans are going to love the packaging of it and everything, so yeah, so it was really cool. So, that basically hopefully answers your artwork question.
No, definitely. You obviously mentioned the tone of the songs. Immolation you've got your own sound, and it's a sound that a lot of newer bands do try and replicate. When you obviously started, did you kind of have an idea of the tone that you wanted your songs to be remembered by, or is it something that you basically just you came up with whilst tweaking material, back in the day, really?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's just, we know we wanted to have that, the stuff we were inspired by was that dark, evil kind of like, sound, like when we were starting out doing, recording demos and starting writing our own music, it was stuff like the early Sepultura, like Bastille Devastation, Morbid Visions, and, like the early German thrash, like, Destruction and Creator and all that, like that. Everything was, they all had that darker edge back then. I mean, they're great now, but they were a little darker back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So back then it was just a little bit more darker. So that was kind of like them, like early Voivod. There's so many. We were inspired by so much of the foreign, all the foreign music, and just that the darker stuff. Obviously, stuff. The typical stuff like Slayer and Venom and all that kind of stuff, and Exodus, and I mean, the culmination of stuff we listened to was just like, very broad back then, but it was all dark, and it was heavy from the thrash, but to the heavier, darker stuff, and the heavier, darker stuff is kind of more the direction that we wanted to go as a band.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We just kind of like started writing our own stuff, and little by little, eventually it caught on, and we ended up getting signed to Roadrunner in the beginning there, and that was it. But I mean, yeah, we just loved that. The dark music always inspired us the most. It was just something about it, whether it was metal or non-metal. It was just like we always liked the dark vibe of music. And for us, for this band, that's what we wanted. I mean, I love all kinds of music, everything across the spectrum. But for Immolation and what we're trying to do, it's always about the dark, the heavy, that atmosphere, that haunting feel, those sounds. That's what we shoot for. And we're like little kids when we're coming up with stuff. I'll come up with a part, or I'll come up with a song, and I'll send it over to Ross first, and he'll hear it and we're like, oh, that part sounds sick. Oh, this is cool. Yeah, this is gonna be good. You know what I mean? Like we're 15.
Yeah.
Again, and that's just the way it is, because we're still amped and we're still excited about the music, and to make something interesting, creative, catchy, but dark and sinister, and something lyrically that has something to say too, and means something, and people can relate to and get something out of. So. It's just all of that we enjoy, and we still have that passion for it. So I think that goes a long way, after all this time.
Definitely. So you start a US tour on the 18th of February, which is when the day the album comes out.
Yes.
When you have obviously such a large back catalogue, how do you build a set list? And is there anything within kind of your repertoire of songs where you're like, okay, that stays no matter what, that song has to be part of the set list, or do you blow it up every tour?
Yeah, we tend to be more of the blow off band, but we have been keeping certain ones in there here and there. But yeah, we don't like to have like one song that we have to play all the time, and we always change it up somewhere or another. But we like this set list was that's probably the least favorite part of anybody's part in this band of any kind, from writing music to doing this to doing that. It's just coming up with a damn set list. That's like the hardest thing. This first tour, definitely we're going heavy on the new stuff, probably 5 to 6, at least 6 new songs, and then, we're throwing in a couple of the classics from Dawn of Possession and a couple other records, a couple of things we haven't done, some that we've been doing. It's a hard call, you know what I mean? Because, when you're saying, okay, yeah, we can only do one song off that record probably, and, well, that's probably going to be the one, and that's just the way it is, But, we do try to change it up now and then. We're going to continue to do that as we go. This first tour, we've just been super busy trying to, between tour prep and the music videos and, just getting ready for things. There's just so much going on. So, we have our new songs. We wanted to get a set list done that we could start practicing a few weeks out. So we pretty much have it. And I think the fans are going to like it. There's definitely some classics on there, a couple from the last record, but, definitely a couple from the previous records, a couple that we haven't done in a little while, but you're never going to please everybody,
Yeah.
It's just very tough. So we try to do the best we can. But we think it's a strong set. And again, it'll be mixed up. And, come we're going to have definitely a couple more things going on in the States before this year's out. So we'll be mixing it up along the way. So, but definitely new shit, because the new album, I mean, we're really excited about the new one. It's very strong. It's very powerful. And, I think live everything's going to go over great. All the songs are standalone, and they're very strong, very dark. So we're amped to play the new shit. So we're really psyched about that.
On the difficulty of obviously having to pick songs, although all right, last couple of years obviously not happened, but prior to that there was a big theme of bands doing album tours of past albums, anniversary tours. Is that something you've ever toyed with the idea of? Ever been approached by promoters to say, we'd love for you to tour or play said festival and just play this album? Is that something that's ever kind of crossed your mind, or are you always really just wanting to basically play, the mixed material, so you're getting to showcase everything that you've done throughout the career?
Yeah, I mean, that's more where we come from. We've definitely had a couple of people ask us about that, like for a festival or something. But I mean, to be honest with you, just for a festival, it's kind of like, it's like we better be. It takes a lot of work to get all that stuff down for one festival. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's something we probably wouldn't do. But we ended up, we played the Decibel Metal and Deer Fest back in September, which was nice. I mean, we were lucky to play two different festivals: Psycho Las Vegas and then the Decibel Metal and Deer Fest.
That was in Philadelphia, yeah.
Yeah, that was in Philly, and obviously Psycho Las Vegas was in Vegas at the Mandalay Bay Casino, and it was just nice because that was really on the edge of when things just started to open up. So for us, it was like we felt lucky we had those things kind of booked already, and it was like very cool to like go out and just play a couple of festivals last year and just get out there. We were very fortunate to be able to do that, so that was cool. And yeah, at that festival, this past year was our 30th anniversary of the first record, so we kind of decided to, like, on the last minute, to just throw in extra songs. So we did about half the record at that festival. We didn't announce it or anything. We just decided to do half that record. So we did 5 songs from the Dawn of Possession record during that show, and that was cool. So it was cool. Yeah, I mean, I've seen plenty of bands do it, and it's something we really weren't too into. We like to we're very happy about our new shit and playing that and everything we got going on. But I can see how that it makes sense, because just for the fact that all the bands, bands from the biggest bands we've been into for years to bands that we've grown up with, at our level and, that we started with. Yeah, we're all in this 30-something, 40 years, now, so it's like, yeah, there's so much material. It kind of does make sense when you think about it. I don't see it being a bad thing, because it's kind of cool. There's so much music to cover. It's not really a bad thing to do, say, a tour of, like, say, maybe these 2 records or this part of your career, and then a tour of that part of your career or whatever, just because you could focus more on just those songs and then maybe come around again and focus on some songs from other records, so... Yeah. So it isn't a bad idea. It's maybe it's something we'll think about for the future. But right now, with the new record, we're like so always looking ahead. Like, people will say, like, oh, we kind of knew about the Dawn of Possession anniversary, because that was like the first record. But like then they said, oh, it's 20 years for Unholy Cold too. We're like, oh yeah, okay. Like, we don't keep track of that. We're just more focused on like, like, how did you celebrate the 30th anniversary of Dawn of Possession? It's like, well, we recorded the 11th record and got that done. That was our celebration. We don't really look back too much, so we don't pay attention to too much of that. But yeah, it would be maybe cool one day to do that. But at this point, with the new record coming out, it's probably going to be full steam ahead on new stuff and mixing it up with best of the old stuff. So that from this point out, anyway.
Obviously, looking back at your entire discography, you've always been an extremely consistent band. Obviously, from the early records, Dawn of Possession, Here and After, right up until Atonement and this new one, Acts of God. What do you think's been? Is there anything that you've done that you feel has helped you maintain that consistency, or is there anything that you can really pinpoint that says that this is why you've been able to remain and just continuously bring out consistently solid records that hold up with the newer material as much as against your earlier work?
I think we're just so passionate about what we do. You know what I mean? We love the music. We love creating it. We love getting out there and playing it. We've been lucky enough to keep doing it. We have all 4 of us are into it 110%. We're all tight with each other. We get along well. We have great fun on the road. We have fun getting the music together. I mean, yeah, it's just, we're really into it. That's all I can say. It's like you just always want to do your best. For us, you can't, we wouldn't settle for anything. You know what I mean? Like, a song isn't done until it's a song for us. Like I said before, we can't write. I don't write like a bunch of songs and then pick the best ones. It's like we write until, like, I'm writing on a couple of songs on every record. I'll get to a point where I'm rewriting a song. Like, I'll have like 7-8 different versions of the song. I'll keep until it gets done, or until I just scrap it and start from scratch. You know what I mean? So it's like, we just want the stuff to be good, and that's what we go for. So, I think it's just that passion in the music that keeps it like that. We just always drive ourselves to kind of like, what can we do next? What's different? I don't know. We just, every album is kind of like that place we are in time. So we just write from that point on, and that's where we're at. But we're always just trying to kind of be as creative and make things as interesting as possible, and that's it. It's just that's our formula.
Yeah.
It's just to kind of do your best,
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. Really, just one final question from me. Really, to finish off your US tour, you've got a show in New York which you're doing with Mortician, Demolition Hammer, as well as other bands on the tour. With that being kind of like your first hometown show since the pandemic, is there any kind of thing that's going to go through your head when you hit the stage, and because you are doing it on home turf, irrelevant the fact you're going to be, you've obviously got the whole of the US, some Canadian shows before that, is that gap in playing going to make that hometown show more special for you than it would normally be?
Well, yeah, I think the whole show in general is a little special because, yeah, like you said, that's definitely our first show since probably 2019, and the fact that it's a special show with, Demolition Hammer, who, thrash band that's been around for years in the underground. They're from Yonkers originally, and that's where that's where they're from. So, Mortician,
again from Yonkers,
needed there again, Yonkers band, Ross grew up with Will, you know what I mean? It's like, and we haven't got to really do a lot of shows with them over the years. The last show we did with them, I can't even think about it. It might have been back, I can't even remember when that was, you know what I mean? So it was probably like 20, 30 years ago. I don't even remember. So the fact that they're playing that show is really cool. So, you have 3 bands that have been doing this for many, many years, all from, originating from the same area, which is super cool. And then you got Black Anvil from Brooklyn, who, we originally met back in 2017 when we toured with them in Mayhem. And, super nice guys, great band. The As Was record was super cool. And I think they're on Season of Mist now, and they're going to be coming out with something new. And, they're a great band, super cool guys. And then you got Funeral Leech, also from Brooklyn, who's more like, the darker, heavier death metal type stuff, but, a lot of atmosphere and everything. So, yeah, it's just a cool old New York bands, all people we pretty much know, and half of them we grew up with, and it's just, it's kind of cool, it is really, it's like a really cool hometown show in a classic Irving Plaza, classic New York City venue. So yeah, I mean, it's just like, definitely will be a special show for us, so we're definitely psyched about that, and it's going to be a really cool way to kind of like close out that first tour for this record, we're really psyched about it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And yeah, the Act of God comes out on the 18th of February via Nuclear Blast. So everyone should just go and buy it. But is there anything final that you wanted to add before we close off the interview?
I just want to thank you, Dan, for the interview. Appreciate it. And just thanks to all our fans in the UK and throughout Europe. And, we just hope you really love the new stuff. We think you're going to love the new record. And we really hope to get over there as soon as we can, probably in 23. But, we really look forward to playing for everyone as soon as possible. And just, everyone stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you soon.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
All right, Dan. Thank you.
Cheers, Bob. Good speaking to you.
You have a good one.
You too.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you keep up to date with future episodes by subscribing to our channels. For more information on this podcast, or for all the latest music news, reviews, interviews and more, head over to our website www.therazorsedge.rocks.